Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Adelina Shakinawati Dunguran. I'm here today. I wanna read about some storytelling in short story. And then my attendance number is 40. And let me to read some short story in here. Okay. And the first story is the title and the first story is Man's Best Friends. Rudy was a large, brown dog. He was from Hamburg, Germany, but he was not at home very often. He was in a town on the roads of Europe. Rudy did not drive the truck. His friend, Heinrich, was a driver. Rudy and Heinrich often lived in the truck for many days. They stopped at a restaurant for their meals. They had beds on the truck. A long drive, Heinrich did not want to fall asleep. So he told to Rudy, and Rudy listened. In Hamburg, they lived with Heinrich's sister, Elena. At home, Heinrich and Rudy liked to sleep a lot. They also went for long walks or they went to see Heinrich's friends. Rudy always went with Heinrich. One evening, Rudy and Heinrich did not come home. In the morning, Elena called Heinrich's friends. They did not know about Heinrich. Then there was a noise at the door. Elena opened the door, and there was Rudy. He was alone. He barked at her and wanted her to go out with him. Elena called the police. After some time, the police called her back. Heinrich was in the hospital. It is her. He was very sick. Elena went to hospital to see her brother. His eyes were closed and he did not talk. The doctor said Heinrich was not in danger anymore but was still very sick. The next day, Heinrich opened his eyes. He asked about Rudy. Poor Rudy. He was at home waiting for Heinrich. He waited and waited by the door. He did not want to get up, and he did not want to eat. Elena called the animal doctor. The doctor looked at Rudy and said, "This dog is not sick," he said. Elena told Heinrich about Rudy. Heinrich said, "Give Rudy my hat." Elena went home with the hat. Rudy put his nose to hat. They moved his tail. He ate some food and got up from the floor but did not move away from the door. The next day, he stopped eating again. Then, Elena went to Heinrich's doctor. She told him about Rudy. "Can I bring Rudy to hospital?" he asked. "No," said the doctor. "No dogs in the hospital." There was sorry for Rudy, he told to some other doctor. In the end, they said, "Okay, there's a little room near the hospital, Rudy. Rudy can meet Heinrich in that room." Elena went to the hospital with Rudy. He was very thin and he walked very slowly, but he saw Heinrich. He jumped up and barked and barked. Heinrich was on the bed. He smiled and talked to Rudy. And after that, Rudy started to eat again. He started to run and play again. Second story. The title of second story is A Man and Many Wolves. Varley woman worked for the Canadian government. The government wants to know more about wolves. Do wolves kill lots of caribou or big animals? Do they kill people? The government told Varley to learn about wolves. They gave him some of food and clothes and guns. Then they put him on the plane and took him to a far place. The plane pat him down and went away. There were no houses or people in this place. But there were lots of animals and lots of wolves. People tell terrible stories about wolves. They say wolves like to kill and eat people. They Farley remembered the story and he was afraid. He had his began with him all the time. Then one day he saw a group of wolves. There was a mother wolf with 4 baby wolves. A father wolf and another young wolf lived with them. Varley watched these wolves every day. The mother was a very good mother. She gave milk to her babies. She gave them lessons about life. They learned how to get a food. Father wolf got food for mother. The young wolf played with the children. They were a nice and happy family, wolf family. Varley did not need his gun anymore. In a short time, he and the wolf family were friends. Varley watched them for 5 months. He learned many new things about wolves. He learned that many stories about wolves were not true. Wolves do not eat people and they do not eat many large animals. What do they eat? Lots of small animals. Varley learned. For example, they eat lots and lots of meat. Can a large animal live on meat? Varley wanted to know. There was only one way to learn. He was a large animal, too, and a large man. He must try to live on meat, so he did. He ate meat and no other food for 2 weeks. After that, he did not want to any more meat, but he was not thin, and he was not sick. Yes, a man can live on meat, so a wolf can too. Now he could answer the government question about wolves. In that fourth place, Varley did not see many people, but he learned bad things about some men. This man told terrible story about wolves. In this story, wolves killed hundreds of caribou. But this was not true. Varley learned that the men killed the caribou. They also many wolves. Varley woman never saw the wolf family again, but he wrote a book about them. He wanted people to understand wolves and stop killing them. And the third story is Ben and Jerry. Ben, Cousin, and Jerry Greenfield were good friends in high school. They came from Merrick, New York. After college, they wanted to start a business. What kind of business? A food business, of course. Ben and Jerry were different in many ways, but in one way they were the same. They liked food. One food they liked very much was ice cream. They wanted to open an ice cream shop where was a good place for any ice cream shop. They looked at many cities and towns. Then they went to Burlington, Vermont. They liked the city a lot. It had lots of young people, and it did not have mean any good ice cream shop. There was only one problem with Burlington for 4 months of the year. It was cold there. Did people buy ice cream on cold days? On May 5, 1978, Ben and Jerry opened the ice cream shop. It was a small group and it was not very beautiful, but the ice cream was very good. Lots of people come to eat ice cream on opening day. They came back again and again. There was always lots of people in the shop. Ben and Jerry worked very hard. One night after work, Ben was very tired. He went to sleep on the ground in front of the shop. After a few months, Ben and Jerry went to bank. They had bad news that there were only a few dollars in their bank account. Why is that? They asked. After all those months of hard, then they start to learn about business. They learn about costs and expense, and they learn about marketing and sales. They start to have big ice cream parties. They have free ice cream. On some days, people in other cities learn about Ben and Jerry, and they came a long way to eat the ice cream. Ben and Jerry made more ice cream, and they started selling it to store and the restaurant. First, they went to store and the restaurant in Vermont. Then they started selling their ice cream to stores across the United States. By 1988, they were selling ice cream all over the United States. A few years later, people could also buy their ice cream in Canada, Great Britain, Russia, and Israel. Why do people buy Ben and Jerry ice cream? First of all, it is very, very good ice cream. It is made with good Vermont milk, and it does not have any chemicals in it. People also buy Ben and Jerry ice cream because they like the company. It is now a very big company, but Ben and Jen are not just big businessmen. They also want to help people in many different ways. They give work to lots of poor people. And every year, the company gives away 7.5% of their money. They give money to help children and sick people in the United States and in other countries. And the first story is a very special party. Amalia Antonova lived in the Petersburg region. She was 75 years old, and she was alone. Her husband was dead. She had a son, Pavel, but maybe he was also dead. She last saw him in 1945. After that, she did not hear any more about him. What happens in 1945? That was a time of war in Europe. Pavel's father was a soldier. He was killed in the war in 1942. After that, Amalia was alone with her baby. The winter was very cold. The German army was in Russia. German soldiers killed many Russians. They sent many other Russians to German to war. Many of these people got sick and died. Amalia was a Russian worker in Germany. At the end of the war, she was still alive. Her baby was still alive too. But Amalia was very sick. The English and American MRAs came to the town. Amalia asked some English soldier for help. "Take my little boy," she said. "I'm very sick, but he must live." So Pavel went to England. He went to live in an English family, the Corbetts. She was just 2 years old. Grace and George Corbett were very good to Pavel. He was a son for them. They gave him an English name, Paul. They never told him about his Russian mother. Paul Corbett married and had 2 children. When he was 45, Grace Corbett died. Then George Corbett told him about his Russian mother. Paul wanted to look for her. Maybe she was dead after all these years, but maybe not. He sent many letters to Russia several years passed. Then one day a letter came from Petersburg. Amalia was alive and well, and she wants very to see him. So Paul Corbett went with his family to Petersburg. Amalia had a big party. All her friends came to meet her sons. There was a lot of good Russian food and music. Amalia did not speak any English. Paul and his family did not speak any Russian, but words were not important. They were all happy. And the second story is Christmas gift. Christmas was a big day for John and Adele. They always had a very nice dinner. Then they opened their presents. Often his presents were small things. John and Adele did not have much money, but John always had something for Adele, and Adele always had something for John. It was the day before Christmas, but this year John and Adele still did not have any present. They did not have any money for presents. "We are happy without them," they said. But it was not true. John wants to buy something for his wife, and Adele wants to buy something for her husband. Adele went into town. He looked at the store windows. There were many beautiful things in the windows. In the window of the music store, he was one cassette. There was a new cassette by Pavarotti. John loved music and he loved Pavarotti. Adele wanted to buy that cassette for John, but she did not have the money. Then she remembered her hair. Adele had very long, beautiful red hair. Her red dress wanted to cut it by from her. Adele always said no, but now she went to the hairdresser and said yes. Then she went back to the music store with the money and she bought the Pavarotti cassettes. When Adele came home, John was already there. "What do you think?" Adele asked him. "Do you like my new Christmas haircut?" "Oh no," John said. "You don't like it?" Adele said. "Why did you do that?" John asked. "I want to buy something for you," said Adele. "So I sold my hair. Here is your present." John opened the present. "Oh, Adele," he said, "this is terrible." "You mean you don't like the cassettes?" asked Adele. No, thank you. It is a beautiful cassette," said John. "But I don't have a cassette player now. I needed money for your present and my friend George needed a cassette player. So I sold the cassette player to him. Here's your present." Adele opened a small box. In it, there were combs for her hair. They were very beautiful, but now her hairs were very sore. He couldn't use combs. "I can use them next year," she said. "Thank you, my love. And someday soon I'm going to get another cassette player." John said. He smiled. "You know, Adele, you're beautiful with short hair." And the third story is the telephone pole. Camel was 3 years old. She lived in a small town in France. Her father worked far away in the city. Her mother worked in the house. One Saturday, Camel's mother fell down on the floor. Her eyes were closed. He did not move. Camel's father was home. He called the doctor on the telephone. The doctor came to help Camel's mother. A few days it was well. Then one day she fell down again. This time, Camel's father was not home. There was only Camel. She shook at her mother on the floor and she was afraid. She looked at her mother on the floor and she was afraid. He started to cry. Then she remembered the telephone. She went to the telephone. She did the same things her father did. She put some numbers on the telephone. A man answered her call. She was called Armand, an engineer. His office was in the city. He did not know Camel. At first, he did not understand her. Camel said, "Mommy, Mommy, where is your mother?" exclaimed Armand. "She's lying down," said Camel. "She cannot get up." Camel started to cry. Cloud Armand wanted to help Camel. "Where do you live?" he asked. "Near my grandma," she answered. He didn't know her street or her town. He was only 3. Then Cloud Armand said to her, "Don't put down the telephone. Talk to me some more. Tell me about your daddy. Where is he?" Then she asked her lots of questions. At the same time, her friend is an office called the telephone company. She told the telephone company about Camel's mother. She said that did Camel's address the telephone company. The government said okay. To the police. The police said okay to the telephone company. And the police said okay to the telephone company. And the telephone company told them Camel's address. All this time, Camel talked with Cole Armand. She told him about her house and her family. She told him about her grandparents, her friends, and her little cat. They talked for 45 minutes. Then the police were at Camel's house. With the doctor, they called to her a ring or a doorbell. Camel said goodbye to the Cole Armand and went to open the door. Now he was not alone anymore. Now her mother was okay. Fourth story is What's in the Bag Sheet. It was a cold day in Chicago. Laura Simon had not warming in her refrigerator. She put the baby in the car and she drove to the store. It was only 10 minutes away, but in 5 minutes, the baby was asleep. Laura stopped in front of the store. She looked at the sleeping baby. She did not want to wake up him, but she also did not want him to get cold. There was a coat in the back seat. She put it over the baby. Then she went into the store. The car case was still in the car. Todd Jenkins walked by. He was the key in Lyra Simon's car. He was cold and she did not want to walk. He got a car and drove away. After 5 minutes, there was a noise in the car. What was that? Todd drove some more. Then he stopped. There was something in the front under the coat. He moved the coat, and there was a baby. Todd looked at the baby. The baby looked at him and smiled. "Dada, Dada," said baby. No, I'm not your daddy, said Toad. He got out of the car and walked away. Then he looked back. The baby started to cry. Toad went back to the car. The baby stopped crying and smiled again. Dada, Dada, she said again. Toad got back in the car and drove some more. The baby was happy, but after a few minutes, he started to cry again. Wah, wah, he said. What do you want? asked Toad. Wah, wah, sighed a baby. Are you hungry? asked Toad. The baby stopped crying. I don't have a meal, said Toad. Now what can I do? He's hungry. Toad looked at the baby took at Toad. Wah, wah, said the baby. Okay, Toad said. He drove back to the store. Laura Simon was there. A policeman and policewoman were there too. Toad Jenkins got out of the car. I think your baby is hungry, he said to Laura Simon. My poor baby, said Laura Simon, and she ran to the car. Never again, said Toad Jenkins. The police in there took him away. 5th story is the day trip to the Mexico. Seattle is the city by the sea. There are lots of boats in the Seattle. Some of the boats are fishing boats. Some boats go to far places. Some boats go to St. John Islands nearby. Anthony Brewer lived in Seattle. He was 16 and he wanted to go away. It was end of the school year. And it was known Anthony's friends were on the St. John's Islands. He wanted to go to there too. One morning, Anthony had an idea. They were warm. He went down to the boats. He wanted to buy a ticket for the St. John Islands, but he didn't have very much money. He walked by the boats. It was early and there were not many people. Then he walked onto a boat. There were some large boxes on the boat. He got into the boat and closed. There was a hole in the box. Anthony looked through the hole and he was some man came onto the boat. Then he both started to move. Anthony saw the buildings of Seattle. Then he saw only the sea. It was a warm day. Anthony was happy in the box. The boat moved up and down a little. Soon he was asleep. He slept for 2 hours. 2 hours. Why were they still at sea? The St. John's Islands were only an hour from Seattle. He looked out. There was only the sea all around. He listened to the people on the boat, but he could not understand them. Maybe this wasn't the boat for the St. John Island. What boat was it? Where was it going? Anthony didn't know what to do. He sat in the box all day. Night came and it was very cool in the box. He had no warmth, clothing, no food, and nothing to drink. Now he wanted to go home. The next morning, some men opened the box. They saw Anthony and they pulled him out. Anthony was afraid, but he man smiled and they gave him some food and some water. Where is the boat going? He asked. To Mexico, they answered. Can you stop before that? He asked. I have got to home. No, they said. We can stop, but we can call your friends and the radio. 10 days later, Anthony was in Mexico. He went to the Mexican police for help. They put him on the bus to the Seattle. His parents came to get him at the airport. The airplane ticket cost them $500, but they were not angry. They were happy to see Anthony again. "I want to go away," said Anthony, "but not Mexico. I only want to go on a day trip." And the sixth story is Young Love. In 1942, Italy was at war. Antonio was a soldier in the Italian army. He was in a small city in Tunisia. In this city, there was a hotel. The manager of the hotel was Italian. Antonio often went to the hotel. He was a friend of the manager and his family. He liked to walk with them about Italy and about the end of the war. The manager's daughter Sabrina was 19. She was very beautiful. Antonio liked very much and wanted to talk with her, but she did not like to talk to soldier. So Antonio watched her and waited. Then one day he smoked talk. He smiled at her and they started talking. They talked and got married, but her parents said, "You cannot get married now because there is war. You must wait." From the war was close to the city. One day Antonio wanted to see Sabrina. He was very sad. "I must leave tomorrow with the army," he said. "The British army is going to be here soon." Sabrina cried and cried. Antonio cried too. He was at hotel with Sabrina and her family all night. He went away with the force. Sabrina cried and cried. Antonio cried too. He was at the hotel with Sabrina and her family at night. He went away in the first light. Antonio and Sabrina stopped at the door for a last kiss. Then he walked away. At the end of the street, he looked back. Sabrina was still there at the door. The war did not go well for the Italian army. The British army took many Italian soldiers with them. Antonio was one of their soldiers. Then the English sent him to India. He was there for 4 years. Antonio sent many letters to Sabrina, but the letters all came back to him. Where was Sabrina? Was they still alive? He did not get any answer to his question. Then, in 1946, Antonio went back to Italy. He went to war in Milan. He got married and soon he had 2 children. One day, in 1961, he was in Rome and he was Sabrina in a store. He went into the store. At the first, she was happy to see him, but then she cried. They went into a cave and had some coffee. Sabrina now lived in Rome. She was married and had 3 children. She was happy with her life, but she said, "I waited for many years. I waited for you. It was time for Antonio." It was time for Antonio to get his train back to Milan. They went out into the street and said goodbye. Antonio went back to his family in Milan, and Sabrina went back to her family in Rome. Antonio never saw Sabrina again.